Welcome to yet another episode, Pound for Pound Box Report, episode 431. I am your host, Michael. Joining me this evening, Daniel from 4 Boxing News, Indian Squabble. What's going on, Daniel?
Going on, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're staying warm.
Indeed, because it's cold just about everywhere, including where I reside here in the southeast. We're not used to this cold weather. Normally, we would have Gail from nyfights.com, but because we are recording this midweek, um, she has other obligations, but I believe she's listening to us live. So, hello, Gail. Hope everything is well with you. For those who are new to Pound for Pound Box Report, Pound for Pound Box Report, live YouTube show, podcast, blog, site, etc., discussing all things boxing. Excuse me for my voice. I've been a little bit under the weather since the beginning of the year, but I'm getting back to 100%. Anyway, if you want to find out any and all information about Pound for Pound Boxing Report, the site is the place to go to. P4pboxingreport.com. If you wish to email us any questions, suggestions, comments, thoughts, etc., you can do so. P4pboxing at p4pboxingreport.com. On the site, you'll find links to where to catch Pound for Pound, where to find Pound for Pound Box Report, all over social media. Link to the YouTube channel, link to the Facebook, Twitter, IG page. Also, if you would like to donate, um, we would be grateful for that. Wouldn't matter for us to us if it's $1, $2, $5, any contribution. We would be internally thankful. Help overall production behind the scenes. Got a Cash Me and PayPal donation links for that. Let donation be the best nation. Also on the site, links to find us all over the podcast realm, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, be it Anchor, be it Spotify, be it Apple Podcasts. For the time being, Google Podcasts. For those who do not know, Google Podcasts will cease, will end on this coming April. So for the time being, you can still check us out there. Wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, you should be able to find Pound for Pound Boxing Report. Last but certainly not least, since this is the beginning of 2024 and people are all about the New Year's resolutions, if you're looking to get yourself in shape, get your body right for 2024, please check out Body, BODI, formerly known as Beachbody On Demand. Plenty of fitness programs for any and all fitness goals and interests. If you're into weightlifting, you got programs such as Lift More, Lift For, Body Beast. If you're looking for CrossFit style, really hardcore functional style workouts, programs like 6 weeks of the work, chop wood, carry water, etc., etc. If you're looking for a boxing specific program, please check out 10 Rounds. That is a 6 week program, 3 days a week of boxing based cardio, 2 days a week of weightlifting, or at the very least, there is a huge, giant sale going on right now. Well, you get for first time for those who are interested in joining BODI Body, you can do so at 50% off. There's also the concurrent ongoing 2 week trial where that is for 14 days. If you decide to take advantage, you get 14 days of free access to any and all programs, including the sample workout of the new Dig Deeper program that's set to drop later on this year. Because I am an exclusive member, I'm on it right now, and I'm telling you, it works. It dropped December 2019 for exclusive members. I'm on the program right now. I'm really liking the results. But anyway, please check out Body on the Pound for Pound Box Report site. Let's get things going this evening, Daniel. Not much to talk about in terms of recaps or even previews of fights, so this should be a very short episode. But the main course when it comes to the boxing, when it comes to the plate, when it comes to boxing, was the return of Artur Beterbiev, um, unified light heavyweight champion. He holds 3 of the 4 belts at 175 pounds. Fought in his adopted home country of Canada, Quebec City, to be exact. Fought former super middleweight champion Callum Smith. Smith moved up to 175. Was Berterbiev's mandatory challenger. according to the WBC. And the thing is, Daniel Beterbiev, following his win over Anthony Yard, there were a lot of rumblings in the boxing community that the old warhorse, what, 38, 39 years old, um, may be getting long in the tooth, maybe may not be the fighter that he was. But when Beterbiev is right, he is a punishing fighter, and he was right, spot on in the performance against Smith. Stopped him, I believe, in 7 rounds. I thought Smith would give him some trouble because of his height and his length, and even moving up to 175, he's a pretty big guy for the division. Nah, not one bit. Beterbiev was in control of the from jump. Showed what I felt was his underrated boxing skills. Um, there is some brains to go along with the brawn and the power. And he showed that in the early rounds. And once he was able to hurt Smith, rounds 3, 4, he didn't let up, punished him with body shots, and finished him off.
Yeah, this was a, a fight that had two chapters. It had the chapter first in the beginning where you could tell Beterbiev actually did something he normally doesn't do. He starts off with a big flurry. Now, that might be because he was probably angry thanks to a report and the use of that report by the Smith camp stating that Vada found an adverse amount of testosterone and HGH in his system, at least in one of his test samples. But it wasn't. Well, it was abnormal, but it was caused naturally. But you know how boxing is, and somebody put it out there, and they ran with it, and then ultimately that pissed off Beterbiev. You saw how it was. He put out a statement saying that he felt that this was just Callum trying to find a coward's way out of it, and he showed that in the beginning. Now, the main thing that is probably best indicator of this fight was that Beterbiev was calm in the situation. He never let Callum establish the jab, which you would figure with somebody that has the height and the reach advantage that Callum had. He would try to establish early, so then that way he can land his shots later. That's not what happened at all. Callum did get some good combinations in, but they were very few and far between. Beterbiev was able to maintain his distance, was able to get inside what he needed to, and he broke down Callum from the middle, from the body to the top. And that's what mainly led to the first knockdown, the first time he got knocked down in Callum's career, mind you. Like Canelo didn't even do that. And then knocked him down again pretty fast. And it was his corner. It was Buddy McGurk who came into the ring and he said enough. That's what your corner is supposed to do. When you know that you're overwhelmed, that you're overworked, that it just isn't your night. Luckily for Cam Smith, he had somebody like Buddy McGurk that was ready, willing to make the decision that sometimes some corners don't do, and that's their detriment, which is establish the fact that you're going to protect the fighter from themselves or protect them from any excessive punishment. And really good performance from Beterbiev. And now we got to see if what we think is going to happen will happen.
Indeed, and let's get to that right now. Shout out to Tony's Reviews for joining us. If you have not done so, please like and subscribe. Um, what Daniel is referring to is what all boxing fans want right now, and that is a fight between, Beterbiev and WBA light heavyweight champion Dmitry Bivol for undisputed status in the division. right? Saudi officials, they want the fight to happen over there in Saudi Arabia. After the fight, after Berterbiev's win, his promoter Bob Arum saying he wants the fight. He's targeting a date early summer. I'm guessing early midsummer for it because Beterbiev being Muslim, Ramadan is coming up pretty soon. So he has to observe that. Put up Tony's comments here in the chat. Um, excuse me. He says that Bivol has been again I think you mean avoiding Beterbiev for years. Correct me if I'm wrong. In the chat, I think he means Bivol has been avoiding Beterbiev for years. Dude is scared of him. I respectfully disagree. I think Beterbiev will fight anyone. Look, uh, it's easy to see why I can understand why some believe that because the unified champion is such a devastating puncher and he's strong as an ox. But the thing that Beterbiev does better than anyone in that division and does better than just about anyone in the sport, he controls distance. He is a boxing savant, in my personal opinion. Um, if there's one fighter who can beat Beterbiev, it is Bivol. Um, I think if he can avoid the power shots, he can outbox Beterbiev. Now, Beterbiev is slicker than a lot of people give him credit for. The bottom line is, Daniel, I want to see the fight. I know you want to see the fight. The boxing world wants to see the fight. Fingers crossed that it finally happens.
Yes, because this is pretty much the key part in this video. Now, if I'm correct, I think Bivol and Beterbiev have at least crossed paths in the amateurs.
And
So,
in addition, excuse me, word on the street is that Bivol has signed a contract for a fight with Beterbiev.
yeah, it's one of the blood money deals. It looks to be the case, but going back to actually the merits of the fight in this area. To me, like I said, I do remember correctly that they did at least cross some paths in the amateurs, and so they know each other. The main thing is, unfortunately, is for people that want to say things that when he's never faced a puncher like Beterbiev in the professional ranks. Like the closest he has been has been Joe Smith, and he almost got caught once by Joe Smith. But when it comes to on the other side, Beterbiev's competition, he's never faced somebody as skilled as Bivol is professionally. That's what makes this an intriguing fight. The also more intriguing part of it is, can this fight break Bivol out of this shell that he normally has, where if he can't knock you out in 3 rounds, he's just going to skate. And okay, aging. Okay, that's what a lot of people have alleged Canelo to have been doing, to age Beterbiev out, win a good decision for in whatever market that could get him, so he can, when the rematch comes with Bivol, he's still once again the A side. There is that possibility, but as far as 175 goes, this is the only fight that's worth making now. And sadly, if it takes the blood money to make this fight, it's going to be the blood money that gets us out of it. And luckily, I said, hopefully we'll be able to see it. And we just got to take notes of the fact that Bill was a very, very skilled fighter. But Beterbiev is what we in the States call country strong. That man is built like a mule and he hits like one. So that's going to
Right.
be a very entertaining fight.
Tony also says that Bob said that in terms of the rumors about Bivol signing a contract, he says Bob Arum said that no contracts have been signed. I doubt that because promoters lie, right? Um, and there's also a power dynamic that he wants to have over over Beterbiev camp and his promoter Hearn. Uh, that's besides the point. The fact that Aram is talking about the fight, the fact that he's talking about he wants it to happen, uh, the fact that he's talking about a targeted timeline, uh, all those are positive signs, right? And if he's talking about in about the fight, and if Hearn and Beterbiev camp in Bivol's camp, excuse me, is talking about it, to me again, that says to me that there is a chance, not a guarantee, a chance, a decent chance that it'll finally take place. The only question I have is the issue of the WBC, as most hardcore heads know. Um, they made the stipulation. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Daniel, because you talked about it on this podcast that because Bivol is Russian native, Russian national, that they don't allow fighters who reside from Russia, who are living in Russia, to fight for the belt. Will they hold on? Will they be dogmatic about that stipulation? Or will Suleiman, who can be fickle, have an about face, especially when you given the aspect of the Saudi money, which is large and long?
That's been my biggest question. And that's what I've been asking every single time I see reports of this. I said, has Mauricio changed his stance on this? Because the stance on it is he will not allow Russian nationals, meaning people that have a Russian passport, from competing or being in a top 15 in the WBC rankings as his own little sanction for the war in Ukraine. We don't know if that's cleared up. We don't know if by the fight gets announced, Mauricio says, I'm sticking by this. And then suddenly you don't have this now for undisputed. You just have it for you. You just have it still for unified. And if Bivol wins, then Beterbiev still has the WBC. That's what makes this a little bit muddy. But like I mentioned, we're dealing with blood money here. Blood money buys a lot, and it may buy Mauricio's complicity in this case.
Indeed. Example of the quote unquote blood money. Look at the heavyweight division right now, with Fury and Ngannou, with the big card last December 23rd, and Ngannou Joshua fighting each other, and the authorities in Saudi, with the fact that Fury is signed to fight Usyk next month, and the Saudi officials they want the winner of Usyk Fury to fight the winner of Joshua and Ngannou later on this year. So again, when Saudi money talks, uh, people listen, particularly in 2024. Let's move on to some other fights on the under that were on the undercard of Beterbiev, Callum Smith, Christian Mbilli, right? Number one contender according to the BA and BC at 168 pounds. He was the co-main event, if you will. Stopped Rohan Murdock in 6 rounds. This was borderline assault. He could have, if this was a street fight, Mbilli would have been arrested for what he did to Murdock in this fight. He tore into him like Murdock owed him money, pounded him to the body and head. Murdock showed a heck of a chin, but in the end, ultimately, just too much punishment. The question I have, Daniel, following this, I know Mbilli is ranked high. Do I think he beats a Canelo? No, even though he called for Canelo after the win. Do I think he beats David Benavidez? No. Do do I think he beats the BA champion? Help me, Daniel, his
Morale.
name, David Morales. Thank you. No. However, I would love to see Mbilli, given his style, very entertaining, hits very hard, applies all kinds of pressure. Would I like to see him against either of those guys? Absolutely. If I'm David Morrell, the camp of David Morrell, I know it would be a kind of a dangerous fight, but given off of Mbilli's win and the way that he had boxing Twitter buzzing um, last Saturday night, I'm calling that camp and say, put him in the ring with me, bring him up to the Armory in Minneapolis. Let's make it happen.
It can be made. It can be made because I think Mobility's promoter isn't really Top Rank. I think it's the Canadian promoter that they have up there, and it's a good spark plug to show because it does. Because unfortunately, outside of Canelo, Benavides, and Morel, there really isn't much to look at the moment. Now that can easily change with an upcoming fight later on with Jaime Munguia versus John Ryder. Who knows, Munguia might actually put himself in the table, and in fact, he has stated that he's willing to fight Benavides and Morel. So it's an entertaining prospect to make. If I'm PBC, this could be one of the fights you want to do for that Amazon rollout. For either to, like I said, to keep Morel busy, or especially to keep David Benavides busy. That way they can still stay sharp while Canelo does his thing.
I agree with you 100%. Last fight on this particular card. Um, Jason Moloney making the first defense of the WBO 118-pound title. Um, Defeated Saul Sanchez by decision. I want to say, yeah, it was a majority decision. I'll let you talk about this, Daniel. Very, very exciting fight. Um, it's I don't know what Moloney Cat will do from here, but on a personal end, I want to see this again. Um, I wasn't able to see the fight in full. I will so after the show, but from the highlights that I saw and from everything that I read, it was an early candidate for 2024 fight of the year.
It is probably the leading candidate for 2024 fight of the year because this is what a championship fight is. You can is a fighter in Moloney who just became a champion, got another championship, went through it with Inoue, but now has the belt, and then Saul Sanchez, a kid that's ready to step up, ready to go to the next level, and they see where they can go. And on this fight, this was very, very close because Sanchez early on actually took away for a little bit Maloney's advantage at the jab as far as maintaining distance. But one thing that Moloney did, and even though if you look at the punch stats, even though Sanchez technically landed more body shots than Moloney did, Moloney threw those early on. And that showed itself in the championship rounds. Rounds, by the way, that Sanchez has never been in. And that helped out in many, many ways because by the 12th round, you could tell that Sanchez was very, very tired. He was game, but was very tired compared to Moloney. And as the fight went on, you saw a situation that if Moloney kept himself in a medium high distance, he could win. But again, this is I got to give full credit to Manny Robles. Sanchez's trainer. They made adjustments. They made the adjustment to start catching Moloney in the medium distance, which then caused Moloney's corner to make an adjustment and have Moloney fight more on the inside to be able to smother punches and then try to go out and start maintaining distance. And it was a back and forth fight. I completely agree with the scorecards I had at 114-114 because it was that close. Like the main thing that probably won it out was the fact that at the last round, you could tell that Sanchez was throwing more or less arm punches compared to Moloney. And Moloney was still maintaining discipline, still maintaining distance, even when it came to that fight. So that was a very, very entertaining fight. Hopefully they do it again. Obviously, if they do it again, it's going to be in Australia. Champion gets home court, obviously. But Saul Sanchez has earned the right to go into a rematch with Moloney. You don't have to call it a robbery. It wasn't a robbery in this case because that fight was that close. If you wanted to give it to Moloney, that'd have been fine, but it probably would have been fine doing it 115-113 rather than 118-112. I want to see these guys do it again. I think if given the chance, Sanchez would probably improve a little bit better, but Moloney will now know what he's facing, and he gets the confidence of not only defending the championship, but knowing that he was able to beat his opponent. Very, very good fight. Folks, if wherever you watch it, watch it.
And Sanchez called for a rematch after the fight on social media. Let's hope it'll happen. If it does, I agree with you again 100%. It will more than likely be in Moloney's home turf, the land down under. Let's get to some news here. A couple of things I have in the docket, Daniel, and maybe a couple of things I do not have in the docket. First and foremost, the news regarding Alicia Baumgartner. For those who know, following the rematch win over Lena Dartow back in July of last year, it was discovered that Baumgartner tested positive for illegal substances during a pre-fight drug test. There's been a litany of back and forth. Baumgartner maintaining her innocence, but news broke this week that the WBC gave her a bit of a reprieve. They ruled that she basically unknowingly didn't intentionally take anything illegal, but they put her on probation for a year. She used that to say that she's innocent all along. It's still a cloud of suspicion as far as I'm concerned. What do you make of this latest development regarding the undisputed women's junior lightweight champion?
Look, folks, when it comes to a sanctioning body putting you on probation, unfortunately, given the history that we have and the precedent of how some sanctioning bodies like to cover up certain tracks for certain fighters if they're favored, I can understand why people would want to err on the side of suspicion when it comes into this. But the main part about it is this. Like when I mentioned the Bivol fight, I mentioned a report of an adverse test. Doesn't mean it's a positive test. With Baumgartner's case, if I'm understanding correctly, it wasn't a VADA test that caught this. It was a different drug testing body that caught it. And we know Alicia did try to maintain her innocence, try to do her own tests. And that's all good and dandy. But you're not going to, unfortunately, you're in this day and age where, especially in the court of public opinion, when it comes to things like this, if you're a fighter, you know that you're going to be guilty until proven innocent in situations like this. Now, can the WBC lay out conditions, or can it be like further testing or additional testing when it comes to if she has to fight? Does she have to do additional amount of testing? That would be fair. But right now, it's like I said, it's a very murky picture, and it's kind of funny that the WBC is the one doing this to me, considering their stance on a lot of pertinent issues when it comes to women's boxing. In case you don't know, because folks, they're the only sanctioning body that does not want to have women fight 3-minute rounds and 12-round fights. And you can debate the science behind it, the Mauricio throughout, but he's the lone holdout in that area. But it's something definitely to keep an eye on, particularly because her main rival, we're going to talk about it later, may have already moved on. So we have to see how it goes when it comes into this, because a situation like this might have cost Bumgarner a good amount of money.
Indeed, indeed, and she hinted on social media that a fight announcement is coming soon. If I'm based on section and body rules, if her next bout is a defense of her titles at 130, it should be against former junior lightweight champion Delphine Persoon, because Persoon is ranked number one across the board. Um, at junior lightweight, we will keep you abreast of the situation regarding the next fight for the bomb, Alicia Baumgartner. More news coming down the pike. Sandor Martin, um, very good fighter at 140 pounds. I felt he beat Teofimo Lopez, excuse me, when they fought. Uh, when they fought December 2022. Now, um, signed a deal with Top Rank. Uh, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this, because it seems that the talent, the elite talent at junior welterweight, is no longer with Top Rank. It's with Matchroom. It's with PBC. I do not see Martin a re. I do not see Lopez, excuse me, fighting a rematch with Martin. Um, what do you think Top Rank has in mind for Martin? What direction do you think they will take him? Unmute your mic, Daniel.
Oh, sorry. The one name that I probably saw pop into my head as soon as I saw that graphic, Devin Haney. Because as far as it looks, Devin Haney really doesn't have a long-term contract with a promoter.
Devin Haney's a
It
free
looks,
agent.
yes.
He's free to go to
So,
wherever he wants to.
and this is a way to maybe to lure him. Like I said, I think Martin is ranked pretty high in the WBC, if I'm correct. And with Haney now being the WBC champion in that weight class, it makes sense to try to gather a good opponent for it. And we know for a fact that the Haneys have dealt with Top Rank, and it wasn't a situation where they left on bad terms, but they did leave. And Bob knows he has to, particularly because of the contract that he signed Teofimo to, he has to get his money's worth somewhere in that area. And that is definitely going to be a fight that he can throw at it if Haney doesn't want to wait for, like, for example, like another, like a Ryan Garcia fight, which we saw how we're probably going to talk about how that ended up. And not only do you don't have to wait, you keep them busy, and you can show that you'll be the presentation, and maybe that's the way to set up the fight between him and Teofimo. That could be the avenue.
Speaking of more junior welterweight news, some late breaking news involving Ryan Garcia. You mentioned it before we hit the live button, Daniel. Give us the update, please.
All right, now we have unfortunately the Ryan Garcia carousel coming into town, and we went from him fighting Haney to him fighting Willie Romero after talking to Floyd, mind you. And now, I think within the last 2 hours, Ryan's promoter, the Golden Boy Oscar La Hoya, tweets out that a fight between Ryan and their other new signee at 140 pounds, Jose Ramirez, that fight could be close to being finalized. Now, I don't know if it's a situation where Rody smartly priced himself out of a fight he knew he was going to lose, or if it's a situation where, yeah, pricing himself out now, he probably has to face now, get a rematch with Barroso. What's gonna be funny in the situation this is, remember, this is Oscar saying this, and we know that him and Ryan's camp aren't exactly seen eye to eye. They haven't for a good while. Is this a situation now where Oscar's forcing the hand? And what if it's a situation where Oscar has the contract, but Ramirez agrees to it, but Ryan never did? This is going to be very interesting to see because on one end, it's a decent fight for Ryan at 140. You have somebody that can test him in Ramirez. It's a little bit less dangerous fight than with a fight with Haney. It's a tougher fight than with Rowley. And you still be the A side. But if the goal is to try to get a belt, and if the goal still is to get a unification fight with Haney later on in the year, I don't see how this particular fight does it. But they did make a big deal out of Golden Boy signing Ramirez, and this is probably their way of saying, "Hey, just sign with us. We're going to give you We're going to give you a big fight. We're going to give it to you with one of the few cash cows that we have, and you do have a puncher's chance." So that's going to be interesting to see. But it's also really going to be interesting to see how Ryan's camp actually looks at this situation compared to how how the layout was supposed to be for them a month ago.
To me, all I see is that they're looking for a quote unquote high profile a fight against a real legit guy at 140 pounds to give to show that Garcia is a fighter of substance, right? Um, because and they think that Ramirez is a fighter who can be had. Why would they sign him in the first place, right? Um, that's my that's my observation about this. No more, um, no less, and it's going to be a good coin for both guys, right? Uh, Ramirez makes good money. He's a seven-figure guy. We all know that Ryan Garcia is a seven-figure guy, so it's a high-profile fight. It's highly profitable, particularly in the West Coast. That's what it is, in my opinion. Let's move on to one final bit of news here. Um, Lomachenko Kambosos signed for May 12th in Australia, faking IBF belt. Uh, we know Lomachenko hasn't fought since the loss to Haney. Last time we saw Kambosos, uh, you felt he lost. I felt he lost. He got a very, very disputed win. I know Kambosos is fighting in his hometown once again, just like he did in the two fights of Haney. I see the same results, just like he lost twice to Haney in his hometown in big, big fights. I think he's going to lose again to Lomachenko in a big, big fight. Assuming Loma doesn't just grow old in one night, there's nothing, and I repeat, nothing that I see from Kambosos that gives me any that thinks that he could do anything with Loma.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, like, like I mentioned, where Ramirez tried to give a fight against the top guy as a goodwill gesture. It's kind of be the same way because Kambosos just recently signed with Top Rank, so I think this is probably what his second or maybe his second or third fight with Top Rank. And against Lomachenko, skill wise, yeah, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. And you're not going to win when it comes to footwork. You're not going to win when it comes to really how the ring is going to lay out. The only way you're winning is via home cooking in many ways. And there may not even be enough home cooking in this case to save Kambosos from a loss to Loma. But it gets Loma his belt back. They can try to make Loma go undisputed or set up the long term plan that I've said that they've had for years when it
Loma and
comes into
Shakur.
this. Loma Shakur, that has been the plan that Bob has wanted to put in for years when he signed both of them. And this could be the path to do it because again, Loma, he is a former champion. He's not going to really have any trouble unless he really goes old overnight. And with against Kambosos, I don't think he will. I don't think he will. So this is, and but it'll be a big money fight. You mentioned it. It's going to be in Australia, and ultimately, all like I said, all paths for Loma do still lead to Shakur. So we'll have to see how it goes.
Absolutely. Let's get to preview some fights here. One main fight I want to talk about. Well, I may add in a couple more because there's a twin bill happening in Japan, and just because of time purposes, I don't know when the next episode will be. We'll talk. We may give a preview because if we have time, because again, this is going to be a short episode, under an hour, no doubt about it. Uh, Natasha Jonas, who was, for those who don't know, I am a senior writer for ThreeKingsBoxing.com. Please check out ThreeKingsBoxing.com, your source for pure unadulterated boxing information. Shout out to 2K, the man behind Three Kings, Bo, senior writer, fellow senior writer, head of media relations. You heard him on the show numerous times. Bakari, fellow senior writer, Red, editor, all the contributors behind the scenes. Natasha Jonas was ThreeKingBoxing.com's 2022 Women's Fighter of the Year. Became unified champion at 154. At one in 2023, she moved down to 147, one vacant IBF belt, right? Making the first defense of that title against Mikaela Mayer, former unified champion at 130 pounds. Interesting matchup, Daniel. Some who may not be aware of Mayer or in her career, even though she fought most of her career at 130, right? She was really shrinking herself to get down to that weight. She's always been a fighter who's more of a junior welterweight. After the loss to Bumgardner in October 2022, she decided enough was enough, has slowly made the trek up to 147 pounds. Interesting matchup. Jonas can move, can punch, but she's older. She's 38, 39 years old. How will Mayer adjust to the new weight? Will she punch harder now that she doesn't have to struggle to reduce her strength in getting down like she did when she was fighting at 130 pounds? I think this is going to be an exciting fight. I personally lean slightly towards Jonas, um, if she still has legs. But I can understand those who feel that the younger, fresher Mayor can pull off the victory, even though she's moving up multiple weight divisions.
Yes, she is moving up multiple weight divisions, and there is already a recent precedent when it comes to this. Terry Harper. People don't remember Terry Harper was the fighter that made Alicia Baumgartner famous because Alicia literally reset her mind in the middle of the ring standing up. And that was at 130, I believe. 130, 135.
Yeah, Harper was
Terry
a
Harper.
champion at 130. And again,
Mhm.
Bob Gardner keeps keeps her name keeps getting into the discussion, into our topics. Bob Gardner, her she really became known in the boxing scene when she stopped Harper literally in her tracks
Yeah.
in winning that WBC belt at 130 pounds, and we've seen her shoot up the ranks and become undisputed champion. And we at Three Kings Boxing, controversial decision. We at Three Kings Boxing recently named Baumgartner 2023 Women's Fighter of the Year. Proceed, Daniel.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, it's rare when you see somebody like that who we literally see get her brain scrambled standing up. Jump two weight divisions, similarly to exactly what Mayer's doing, and not only look better, her punching power was better, she looked healthier, and now has a belt to 154. Mayer's looking to do that exact same game plan. And you could tell that it was costing her to go to do 130, and probably even just doing 135 wasn't going to be enough. So jumping into this in this type of situation, it's going to be we're going to be able to see how good Mayer can actually be because that fight with Bumgarner, it was very, very close. And we also got to see how she is mentally because that she didn't exactly take that loss to Bumgarner well. But this is not a chance for redemption. It's a chance for her to show that she's not a flash in the pan. And I would probably give the edge to Jonas because she's been at this weight more regularly, obviously, than Mayer. But Mayer does have a chance because she does have something to prove. She does have a chip on her shoulder. And we've seen a good amount of fighters come in, and that's all they need, that chip on their shoulder to pull out a good performance.
Right. A couple of other fights I mentioned going to take place in Japan on the 23rd, Osaka, Japan to be specific. Artur Delakian is defending his WBA flyweight belt against a local fighter local Japanese fighter by the name of Akui. No offense to Delakian, but yeah, he's a champion, but not a lot of folks talk about him for a good reason. Um, he's old in the tooth, he's long in the tooth, older, and the last couple of performances, he's not looked that good. Um, the fight is there, it's going to happen. That's all I'm going to say about it because I'm not that interested. The main event of that card in Osaka is Kenshiro Taraji, who is unified champion at 108 pounds. He returned to the ring to fight former WBA champion Carlos Canizales. If you want to talk about it, fine, Daniel. But for me, this low key has the potential to be very good. Uh, I thought at one time Carlos Canizales had the look of a real legit guy at 108 pounds, but suffered a surprisingly 6 round stoppage loss to Esteban Bermudez, losing his WBA belt. He's won his last 4 bouts since then, including um, um, stoppage win over former champion, junior flyweight champion Ganigan Lopez in March of 2022. I think if Canizales is right, he will not be a pushover for Kenshiro. We know Kenshiro has been on a roll since the sole loss of his career to um, Masamichi Yabuki a couple of years back, well, close to 2 years ago now. He's at the top of the heat, far as I'm concerned, in the division. I'm leaning towards Taraji, but he's going to have some trouble here if Gonzalez is on his A game. Your quick thoughts on this, Daniel?
Yeah, this is more of a fight for Canizales to show and prove that it is for Kenshiro. Because Kenshiro right now has shown that he is the good. That one loss did not define him. So when it comes to that, Canizales has to show that he can time Kenshiro and that he can actually counter Kenshiro well, which I don't think he can. Honestly, like it's a good story. Like he is a very good fighter at that weight class. But Kenshiro has something to prove himself. He's still trying to prove that that loss to Ibuki was a fluke, even though it's clearly evident to most of us here that it was a fluke. He still has that chip on his shoulder, and that's a good thing because it's very, very rare. We have fighters that already made their point, still want to make it. It's going to be fun, but I expect Kenshiro to win.
And I think we're going to close things down on that note. Again, I want to thank Tony's Reviews for his multiple comments and questions. For those who checking out this episode on YouTube, please make sure you hit that like button. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help the overall algorithms get us monetized and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Since Gail is not here with us this evening, for those who want to chop it up, talk boxing with her, you can check her out on Twitter, social media, on Twitter and IG, PR Pro San Diego. And you can also check out her work over at nyfights.com. Goes to you, Daniel, for Boxing News and the Inscriber for those who want to talk. For those who want to talk the sweet science, for those who want to talk pro wrestling, for those who want to talk all things Miami Heat when it comes to the NBA, let the folks know where they can hit you up. You're on mute,
yes.
Daniel. There you go.
Yeah. Yes, folks. Like I say, you can catch me on Twitter. I'm never calling that X. Rockstar99, RWKUZ99. Catch me on there. And yeah, we're definitely going to check in. We're going to see the beginning of the year, how it's shaping up. We have a few decent cards lined up afterwards. And we got to see how this year shapes up. Because so far it is looking like the blood money year. Is it going to stay the blood money year?
Yeah. For those who want to talk boxing, music, fitness, you know what it is with me on Twitter. Brother JR at Brother JR76. For those who want to talk boxing, music, fitness, and fragrance, with yours truly on IG and TikTok, you can do so, Brother JRSC. Let me make this announcement. I should have made it before the show. We're looking for a couple of more. If you're interested in being a regular on Pound for Pound Boxing Report, please hit me up on Pound for Pound Boxing Report Twitter page at P4P Boxing RPT. Let me repeat that, at P4P Boxing RPT. Kind of had meetings of the minds towards the end of last year because sometimes our schedules fluctuate between Gail and Daniel. They're not able to be with yours truly all the time because my schedule fluctuates. So I don't have a set day, but we're looking for two for those who are interested, who are real boxing fans, no casuals, no offense, but for those who want to chop it up and chop it up with Daniel, Gail, and myself about boxing, please hit me up on Pound for Pound Boxing Report Twitter page. We're looking for two people in the regular, two more additional people in the regular rotation. I should have said that. I meant to say it at the beginning of this particular episode, but I'm saying it now. Again, we're looking for two more regulars for Pound Boxing Report podcast. On the next episode, We will do a recap of Jonas and Mayer. I don't know because the Kenshiro fight is midweek if we'll do a recap of it or not. But I wanted to get it out the way, and have a discussion about it at the very least. So yeah, on the next episode, a definite recap of Jonas and Mayer, plus a preview of the January 27th bout between Jaime Munguia and John Ryder. On the undercard of that, um, one of the rising stars, as far as I'm concerned, of women's boxing, Gabrielle Fundora, who's looking like a real force at 112 pounds. I want to say, recently signed with Matchroom. Correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel. Uh, I could be wrong, but I believe she recently signed a deal. Rumor is that she's going to fight Marlon Esparza later on this year. Anyway, Fundora is going to fight Christina Cruz, first defense of the IBF flyweight title. So we will talk about those bouts definitely. Again, I want to Gail. She wasn't with us this evening. She's watching live, I believe. So shout out to Gail from nyfights.com. Again, I want to thank those who commented Tony's reviews in the YouTube chat, in the live YouTube chat. For Daniel of For Boxing News, Indian Scriber, I'm your host, Michael. This has been episode 431 of the Pound for Pound Box Report. We will see you guys next time. Everyone have a good evening. Good night.
Buenas noches, folks.